Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to author G.D. Grace's A Touch of Grace, Literary Magic, on Blog Talk Radio.
Everything there is to see. Check out the Louvre and the Champs-Elysees, but I'd rather be with you any day. I'd rather be with you any day. I'd rather be with you any day.
By today's guest, CHRIS Jasper, and it's from the LP Inspired by Love, by Life, by Spirit, and it's called Any Day Indeed. People of the world, I'm your host, GD. Welcome to Street Player Presents on A Touch of Grace. Today's date is Tuesday, the 29th of April, and the time is 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Well, we are well off into spring, and I tell you right now, there's some crazy weather going on back south, so my prayers go out to the fans of A Touch of Grace back in the areas that are affected by this terrible weather. What makes a legend? A legend personifies consistent creative genius that defies the adverse odds in a business where one-hit wonders appear then fade after one hit. Instead of being deemed the next big thing, a legend enters the recording studio, lays it down repeatedly on track after track, then slays it on stage, delivering a performance that leaves concert goers in frenzied states of groove and satisfaction everlasting. From the very beginning, a legend is separated from the masses by a profound talent, often imitated but never duplicated. As a member of the Grammy Award-winning R&B powerhouse group, the ISLEY Brothers, he has electrified audiences around the globe with a polished charisma for decades as a member of the ISLEY Brothers, ISLEY Jasper Isley, and as a solo artist. And those stellar accomplishments were acknowledged when he, along with his talented bandmates, were inducted into the prestigious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now that's a legend. He joins us today to discuss his life in show business and to talk about his upcoming solo release. He is Chris Jasper. Chris, welcome to A Touch of Grace. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Man, you are a legend. So what does it feel like being a legend?
I feel like anybody else, I guess. Love to work on music, and, I'm working on new music, and, that's what I really love to do.
All right. Well, definitely we are very much in gratitude for the sacrifices that all of you have made in the recording industry for creating the soundtrack of our lives, because many of the songs that you guys have recorded have just really become the soundtrack of our lives. We can actually remember when we play a song just about how old we were and where we were when we were listening to those songs. So how are you doing on this fine spring day?
I'm doing great. I mean, like I said, I'm in the middle of doing another album. I've finished what's the first single, which is going to be the song of the month on Soul Tracks on May 1st. So that I'll be getting that to you also. But I'm in the middle of doing another album, and I'm very pleased with how it's coming out.
Well, that's great. So we're going to definitely talk about that, because I want everybody to be prepared for another great set of songs by someone that is brilliant, just like you. And so I know that the southern states are having their bout with some nasty weather. So I want to dive into the interview a little progressively, because I definitely want to hit where you were, where you are now, and what's to come. And so where do you call home these days?
I live in New York, Westchester. I'm about 60 miles north of Manhattan.
All right. And so where did life begin for you, and did you ever have the notion that you would be as accomplished as you are in the music industry today?
Well, I started, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I started, music, I guess you could say, listening to music and wanting to play it when I was, very young. I was about 7 years old, and I used to listen to the radio and play songs off the radio that I heard. And one day my mother saw me doing that, and she said, well, why don't you take piano lessons? Why don't you learn how to read music? Because she read music and she could play piano. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And so she knew this professor, that taught and gave piano lessons, and she asked me to go to see him, and that's when I started. And ever since then, music has been a big part of my life. I didn't know where it was going to lead me, but I knew I liked it. I knew I wanted to be a songwriter from a very early age, and I just continued with it, and that's where it took me.
And so some of the earlier music before you actually became a professional, did you do the high school dances or the talent shows in Cincinnati?
Oh, absolutely. Well, not in Cincinnati, but when I used to come to New Jersey every summer. My sister Elaine married Rudolph Isley, one of the older brothers, and they moved to New York first and started their career. So I used to visit her in the summers, and at the time Ernie Isley was playing drums and I played piano, and we used to get together and jam, in Miss Isley's house, his mother's house. And, this happened over a period of time, And as we continued, we said, well, we need somebody to round out this trio here. And we encouraged Marvin to pick up the bass and learn how to play bass. And he did. So that formed our first group, which was called the Jasmine Trio. And we did the high school circuit in New Jersey. Some dances, even a church function. I have to put one of those up on Facebook. When we were doing this church, First Baptist Church, we called ourselves the Jasmine Trio, and Elaine and Rudolph, they came down to see us, when we were playing there, and so that's how we kind of got started, was as a trio.
Oh wow, that sounds fantastic. And I always wondered because I did some research on Earth, Wind, and Fire and found out that Maurice White started off with a group that it was called a Salty Peanut or something like that. Because you always wonder where it actually started off. It doesn't necessarily start off with the group. But you said it was a trio at first. And when I look at record albums, because I'm a child of the 80s, there's so many of you on there. So when did all the other members started coming?
Yeah, well, we're the younger unit of the Isley Brothers. The older Isley Brothers, when we formed the Jasmine Trio, they were at Motown, and I think they had done the song "This So Heart of Mine," and they were in the process of leaving Motown at the time, but they had already had some hits, "Shout, Twist and Shout," and so they saw us, how we were progressing. And they liked what they saw. They even took us in the studio and recorded, some of our original stuff. And as we continued to, get better on our instruments, they wanted us to play on them on their sessions, and that's how the six of us came together. Is when they observed us, they wanted us to be part of what they were doing. So we kind of, grew into one 6-member group.
So here you are. You started at like 7. Listening to the radio, being able to play stuff by ear, and then now you're in a group that was with the Motown family. And so was there ever any time as you were developing and growing as an artist that you felt like, what am I doing? Or did you just always know? Were you always just sure-footed to know that this was what was in store for you?
Yeah, like I said, music has been a part of my life so long that when I started doing it professionally, it just came naturally to me. But like I said, I always wanted to be a songwriter, and that was, number one in my mind is, being a writer, writing new songs, coming up with ideas, and that's what I did with the group. I wrote a lot of those songs, and that's kind of where I come from first as a writer, musician, then performer later, So that was kind of my focus. So I really did have that focus, early on, even when I first started to play with the other guys. That was my focus.
And so for you as a songwriter, you're in the ranks up there with Stevie Wonder and the greats that actually have written lyrics and music. So for you, do the lyrics come first, or does the melody come first for you? Usually,
either a melody or a chord progression will come first. That's usually how it happens. And then, from that melody, I construct the lyrics. That's the general way it happens. The majority of times it happens that way. But there's been times when I've had, lyrics along with a melody first, and sometimes I've just had a melody and I've had to craft, the chord structures to that melody. So it happens in a variety of ways. But most of the time, I'll sit down at the piano, I'll start practicing, maybe going over some previous ideas I've had, and then I'll come on to a new idea, a new chord progression series, So, but it comes from practicing. It comes from being, at the piano, and like I said, crafting a progression or melody.
All right, all right. And so the creative process is clearly just something that has been a part of your spirit for a long time, which is the reason why the music is just so genuine. So the question I have for you, do you recall where you were when you first heard one of your very own songs on the radio and what that moment felt like?
Let's see, where was it? When I heard I'm trying to remember the first time I heard something on the radio. It was probably something that I wrote. Let's see, it was probably over in Miss Isley's house because we spent a lot of time there, rehearsing, and even just practicing on our instruments. That's where we had everything set up. So it was probably there. I probably heard either that lady or the previous album. I wrote a song called "Love Put Me on the Corner" on a previous album, so it was probably one of those two. But it was I would bet it was over there at Miss Isley's house. Yeah.
All right. So I had Billy Brown of Ray Goodman and Brown on last week, and he said that his knees buckled prior to stepping out onto stage before like 10,000 people. So do you remember where you were? Okay, so you're on the radio now, and your very first performance in front of a crowd. What was that experience like for you? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. I was probably like in around 10th grade, 11th grade, 10th or 11th grade. And the older guys, they had a gig at this, they had a college gig that they had in Washington. And they wanted me to come with them and play organ, And I knew the songs, but I had never played, I never played them anywhere, So I remember, like, right before going on stage, like my hands started to sweat, so I get really nervous. And that's what used to happen, But after time went by, that kind of went away. I still got the butterflies, but the hands remain dry.
Oh, okay. So your hands dried up and the butterflies are still there. But
yeah, that always happens. You always have a little adrenaline, right before you go on. That's kind of normal.
All right. And so I think you had mentioned this, too. I think you said that the first big hit was either That Lady or Love Put Me on the Corner. Were those the first two hits that you actually wrote?
Yeah, Love Put Me on the Corner, that was one I wrote by myself. That Lady was kind of a collaboration between me and Ernie and Marvin. So, but I think the first one I heard on the radio was the first one, Love Put Me on the Corner. And I believe that was on the Brother, Brother, Brother album. We did a lot of covers on that particular album, too, Carole King covers. But I believe that's the one I heard first. It's remarkable. I remember when I was doing the research for Ray Goodman and Brown, they had like a number of member changes in the group, and it was kind of hard to keep up. But the Isley Brothers have always been, a collective project. And I know that you stepped out on your own with ISLEY Jasper Isley. So ISLEY Jasper Isley did come after your being in the Isley Brothers. Is that right? That's right, yeah. And so what drove the decision to branch out as a trio? That was not the three of us younger guys' decision to do. It kind of happened as a result of some financial situations within the group. The older guys having different tax problems and things that we didn't have, and they wanted to file bankruptcy, and they wanted to get out of the CBS contract, which we didn't. We didn't think that was necessary, but things like that. Business things came up that were unanticipated and kind of caused that. But we went on and did what we were doing with the group. I mean, the only difference between ISLEY Jasper Isley and the Isley Brothers is the lead singer. That was the only thing that was different. We recorded everything the same way, that we've been doing in the past. Yeah, because it does. I mean, the music does have the Isley feel to it, and that's one thing that I know that it is, especially with groups in general.
the spirit of the group is actually the music. A member, though a member cannot be replaced, what makes a classic timeless is the melody and the music, and most certainly you guys have written so many memorable songs. So let's talk about live performance. Now, you talked about when you first went on, you had the sweaty palms and then the butterflies still come. So what is it about the live performances that do it for you? Do you like performing live?
I like it, yeah. I like it a lot because you get to see, how people react to, the songs, the material. And that's like really, spontaneous. You do spontaneous things, too, on stage that you wouldn't necessarily do, on the record. So, that's that spontaneity, that initial response is great to see. But my favorite part of the business though is creating that new song and going in the studio and recording it and then hearing that for the first time finished. I think that's the biggest thrill I get from it because you created something that wasn't there before, and now it exists. And so
exactly.
That's kind of my favorite part. But I do like the live thing too.
So let's talk about creating. I remember I was watching Michael Jackson on television one time. The consummate performer or the consummate creator has this thing always going on, this creative will churning in their mind. Is it ever hard to cut it off for you?
I try sometimes, but you can't really turn it off because I could be, outside somewhere, doing something, like, landscaping or something, which I like to do. And an idea could pop into my head, and it's like I can't stop it. Sometimes I dream a song. I've dreamt songs before. Matter of fact, the single I have out called "The One" came from a dream. You really can't turn it off. You just have to learn how to, when you do, have a good idea come to you. Just make sure you remember it. Put it down on a tape or however you do it. But you have to remember it. That's the big thing.
And so the question I have for you, back to the performance side, is there a difference between a U.S. audience versus the overseas crowd?
Well, I haven't done touring overseas, even with the ISLEY Brothers or with ISLEY Jasper. I've only toured in the United States. So I think the U.S. crowds are great. I mean, we had a lot of great concerts in both, ISLEY Jasper and ISLEY Brothers. So I can't speak about the foreign crowds yet, which I intend to, but I haven't done that yet.
That's great. And so over the years, Chris, R&B was definitely predominantly for us, or so we thought, and then we realized that, white people love our music as well, too. So the crowd from the earlier years versus the crowd now, have you seen a shift in diversity in the crowd, or has it been about the same?
It kind of depends on where it is, the location of the venue. I find that's more, when we play as the ISLEY Brothers, for example, we play certain venues, and certain crowds would be mixed, certain of them wouldn't. But it would just depend on where it was. Like if it was located in a predominantly black area, of course you would get mostly blacks in the audience. But if it was in another place, like outside of the urban area, you tend to get more diversity in the crowd. So it just depends on the location, I think, more of anything else of the venue.
Okay. All right. So I was always interested in that because I know that PBS does a lot of the oldies, and so they'll have the entertainment on there, and you look out, and all you see is white people, Mexican. You see a handful of black people, and let's face it, our music is often duplicated, and to me it's kind of like a blessing because people understand what good music is, and most certainly the ISLEY Brothers, as well as ISLEY Jasper ISLEY, and you as a solo artist, you create this timeless music. So I want to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then we're going to start getting into your solo status. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, do you remember the moment and what that feeling was like when you were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
It was great. I remember the whole event. It was at the Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan, and there was a press conference beforehand. About maybe an hour and a half was reserved for a press conference, and I think every press, every newspaper was represented. Almost every network was represented, and it was really exciting, because you get all that attention at one time. And then later on, there was a dinner and also the presentation. So it was a long evening, but it was great, and it's just a great honor to be recognized like that.
Well, you know what? I think that it was deserving. Well deserving, and I just always wondered what that felt like because I know that so many great entertainers are in there, and most certainly the ISLEY Brothers as well as, CHRIS JASPER stand alone, in their contributions to the music industry. So now let's talk about the solo venture. Was it a tough decision or just like a natural progression to actually want to step out on your own and do your own thing?
Yeah, it was kind of natural. In that with the ISLEY Brothers and Isaac Jasper Isley, I did, a large amount of the music. I played a lot of instruments. I played bass on some things. I played guitar on some things. I played all the keyboards. So, I was a large part of that sound. So for me to go solo was not too difficult because of what I had been doing in the past. So I just kept going as I'd been doing, laying down the tracks, adding parts, overdubbing harmonies, and things like that. I guess the big thing was, not having feedback, from other members, because, you naturally have that feedback when a lot of people are in the room, But when you're by yourself, you have to make, all of those decisions and things yourself. So I guess that was the only difference. But it was kind of natural for me to do because more, if you notice the career of the ISLEY Brothers, more and more keyboards became more and more part of the sound, and that was me. So I had a lot of experience, laying down, layering tracks and producing a record from beginning to end. So it was a pretty natural thing to do.
And were there any hard feelings when you left, or was it, okay, we wish you well, and we're here if you want to come and lock horns with us again and make great music?
Well, it wasn't really my decision anyway. I mean, we were gonna do another Isaac Jasper Isley album, and I found out that Ernie had resigned from the group, and I was like shocked, at hearing that, and I said, well, I guess that's the only other route I can take now because we can't do Isaac Jasper Isley anymore. So, it like I said, it may have been something that I would have done in the future, but at that particular juncture, it was a surprise to me. So that's just what I had to do.
All right. And so as far as Isaac Jasper Isley and then the Isleys, do you still tour with them from time to time, or was that just a part of history and now you're strictly solo?
Yeah, I'm doing my own stuff solo. I have my own record label. I've had it for a long time, and my son Michael, he's the latest addition. He's doing another CD, and he does different music than I do. He does basically dance and electronica, that kind of stuff. So he's doing another record. So it's just me and him right now. But I've had other people on the label before, other artists.
What is the name of your record label, Chris?
Gold City Music is the record label.
And so you said that you have had people under the label before.
Yeah.
Okay. And so are you taking on new acts at this time, or are you just mainly focusing on your own work?
Well, for the near future, I'm focusing on these two projects, mine and his.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends. In the future, if I run across something, an artist or some songs that I like, I consider them. But right now, that's the only thing in front of me. So
that's cool. And so your son Michael is also in the business as well. How did that make you feel when he decided that he wanted to kind of follow in his dad's footsteps?
I was kind of surprised because he didn't really say anything, about wanting to be in the music business. What he did was he started to record music. One day I walked past his room, and I'm hearing this music coming out, and I open the door, I go in there, and I say, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm, just, putting down some tracks." And I said, "That's you?"
Oh, wow!
That's something you were working on? He said, "Yeah." So I said, "Hey, man, that's really good," And he kind of took it on himself. He's self-motivated, and I found that really good. That I didn't have to tell him anything.
Wow, that is so cool. Was there ever an inkling to want to, like, you're hearing something and you say, "Hey, you know what? This would sound better if you did," or do you just kind of let him do his thing?
Yeah, he'll put down tracks, but when he gets stuck, if he gets to a point where he needs my help, he'll call me in, and he always bounces the ideas off of me, and I make suggestions. And we talk back and forth. Sometimes he takes my suggestions. Sometimes he has another idea. But it's he's self-motivated. He wants to do it, and that's the thing. I don't want to force any of my kids to do anything. Because it's better if it comes from them. And
he's a chip off the old block.
Yeah, he just and he's got great rhythm too. I use him on my records. I'll have a basic rhythm thing going. I said, and I'll come to him, I say, "Okay, Mike, now what do you hear? Do you hear any extra percussion here?" Or and he adds some nice, tasty stuff.
What's his name? Does he go by Michael Jasper? Is that because I'd love to hear some of his music?
Yeah, Mike Metronomic. That's what he goes by. And so you can go to and hear some of his stuff. If you go to his website.
Yeah, I'm going to do that because I believe in supporting the artist. I'm a lover of R&B music. I'm a lover of music in general. I think that artists like you are gems to the industry, and I just want to say thank you for being there for us, because some of us, all we had was music at certain points in our life, and for an artist is really selfless. They just really are. So let's talk about this adjustment to entertaining as a solo artist for you. I know that in the studio you said the experience was like, okay, you didn't have anybody to bounce something off of. So what about performing live on stage? Was there a certain adjustment that you had to get used to doing this?
Well, I did a gig like a couple of years ago, and I did it. It was gospel because I did some gospel albums, and this church wanted me to come and perform there, and I got an opportunity to work with an old friend of mine, Everett Collins. He's a college buddy and music director. So I got him to get the band together and to rehearse them and everything, and that's the different thing for me is that I'm only one musician, and one singer.
Right.
So I have to get other people involved, when you do a live performance. So I think that's the big difference about being a solo artist and, performing live is instead of having two other musicians, with me already, I have to get, other people to fill that role. So
was the tour, so was the performance with the gospel performance, have there been others, or are you touring today?
No, I'm not touring yet until I finish this album, which I should do pretty soon because I want it to be released this summer, sometime this summer. But
let's talk about the new.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the new one. Yeah, let's talk about it. So, what's the title? And you said it's going to be released later this summer. What is the first single going to be?
The first single is called "The One." That's the title of the album, "The One." And it's like I said, May 1st is like when it's going to be on Soul Tracks. It's the Song of the Month. Also, some radio will, it's going to be going out to radio too on that day. So that's going to be the first song from that CD, and it's a lot more nice songs on there. There's ballads, there's funk, So I kind of stepped it up a little bit.
I was trying to grab it, right, to surprise you, but I couldn't find it. I was like, I'm going to surprise Chris today and play this song, but I couldn't find it. And Chris Rizek over at Soul Tracks, he's a friend of mine on Facebook. I just love what he's doing for rhythm and blues, and I'm glad it's there because that's where I actually found Any Day at. I actually went back to their archive and I actually found it. And so you said it's going to be funk, it's going to be ballads. How are you going to distribute?
I'm independent. I'm an independent label.
Okay, so you do all of that. I know that Tina Marie with her it wasn't Black Rain, it was her Passion Play CD. She talked about getting broke, doing all of that by herself. So have you avoided the pitfalls of, or do you just know how to actually do it to make it lucrative for yourself?
Yeah, it's knowing. Basically, it's controlling expenses. If you can do that, you have a better chance of making a profit. But that's what it's about, controlling expenses. A lot of times, people will incur expenses that may not be necessary. And that draws away from your earning potential. So. But that comes from experience. Though I've been at this a long time, so I'm able to do things maybe because I have been in there so long. People know my name, they know who I am. Sometimes I can get things done maybe that someone else would have to work harder for. That's another thing. As sometimes that helps too is name recognition. So that's but like I said, you still have to work hard as an independent. It's not easy. An independent, you have to work hard every day. Every day you have to keep pushing, because FM radio in particular is one of the tough things to get over onto.
Now it is definitely.
With the corporate structure involved. With the radio, so. You have to work hard.
Yeah, it's definitely some hard work. So you know what? We have a couple of callers. Do you mind taking a call from someone?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, here, let's go ahead and do it. 310-598, thank you for calling into Touch of Grace. Do you have a question for Chris Jasper today?
Hello?
Uh-oh. Yeah, hello.
Hey, how you doing? This is Dion Vincent.
Hello.
Hey, Dion. Hi, hey. This is comedian Dion Vincent, Chris Jasper. Do you have a question for Chris?
Yeah, Jasper. Love your work, of course. You're one of the all-time greats. All that. I was wondering, how does a person go about establishing himself as an independent without any backing or anything? What would you say would be the first few moves a person should do?
Well, any record company, and I'll use Motown as an example.
Okay.
The first thing he had was material. He had products.
Right.
And I think that's what he focused on is getting his product in hit form. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you got to establish that first before anything else, because I think some people go at it another way. They try to set up an infrastructure. They try to set up, offices and everything else before they have any product.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they put your cart before the horse.
Yes. So if you ever been in Detroit and seen that building that they used to work out of, it's a small little house.
Yeah, real little house.
It's a small little house, but what they had was producers, songwriters, artists, people who had the ability to produce good product, and that's the key thing for an independent. is to have superior product. If you can do that, you have a shot. If you just have average product, you're kind of behind the eight ball. Because the majors can always outspin you.
Always, especially when it comes to promotion. And
you know what? So it's the product. Your focus. Any independent has to focus on their product to make it the best, because that's what's going to get you over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great advice.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times in all areas of entertainment, everybody seems to come out with a mediocre product, but since there's so many distribution channels, they kind of can make it a little bit, but it doesn't last because the product is not really there.
Yeah, well, see, that's the problem that's happening now is people think that it's about promotion, it's about marketing, and it's about all of that.
Right.
You can spend a lot of money, but that doesn't mean the bottom line is going to balance.
Right. I follow you.
That's
great advice. Yeah, I know what you meant. It's not going to last. It's just going to be a flash in the pan.
Yeah. That's true.
All right, thanks for your advice, Chris.
All right.
Mr. Jasper. All right, have a good day.
Right.
Thank
you. All right. Thanks to you for supporting the show. Okay.
Oh, no problem.
All right. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's a comedian out in Beverly Hills, California, and so he's really doing some great things. I'm glad he actually called in. So let's talk about, we're down to some final questions of the show today. Once again, for those who have tuned in, you are listening to the legend, Chris Jasper, from the ISLEY Brothers, as well as Isley Jasper Isley, and he's also a solo artist, a very good solo artist who is about to release his single from the LP entitled the same name, The One. And that's going to be on May 1st on Soul Tracks, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, Chris, how are you going to promote this project? Are you going to just use social media, or are you going to actually go step out and do some touring behind it?
I definitely plan to do some touring too, yeah. But social media is, of course, I'm going to go there first. I'm going to go, every station. I'm going to take it as far as I can take it. And it's going to take, like I said, it's going to take a lot of work. I'm going to go to college radio, AM, FM, every one. I'm going to try to promote this too. And but of course, internet is first, because they supported me first, before, and that's kind of the route I'm going to take.
And what can we do to support you, Chris? We want to be a great support for you. How do we get your music? Do you have a website?
Oh, yes, ChrisJasper.com. If you go there, that website will take you everywhere where you can purchase it. My calendar, Facebook, ChrisJasper.com. You can get to everything.
All right, that sounds good, because we definitely want to be a part of the continued of music excellence, and that's what you're putting out there. Will there ever be a final performance, or Chris, is this a lifelong commitment? You're going to do it until you can't do it no more? Yeah,
I mean, it's like I said, I can't stop the ideas, and I don't want to, because I feel I always have something to say, some musical statement to make. I think when you're creative, and that stops, that's kind of sad, It's kind of a sad thing. I always want to continue to do it. I always want, and I think I always will.
Well, aren't we the lucky ones that you are just going to keep on going? Because I tell you, once you are putting out good music, you really have fans for life, regardless. I had read something that was a little sad. It was about B.B. King, to where he was at a concert and he was kind of forgetting some of the words. But you know what? How great are we to experience a legend that is still out there with the heart and the drive to want to do that for us. So I just really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for everything that you have done and what you've put out, because it definitely has touched lives. So are there any final thoughts that you have that you would like to leave the fans with today?
Yeah, I'd like to first of all thank the fans, sincerely, because they have, like you had mentioned before, alluded to before, they stuck, with me, through the groups, both groups and my solo career, supported my music, And I really appreciate that, and I appreciate, people like you who play our music, and support us in that way. So that's really what I want to say is thank you to everyone because, they enable me to do what I do.
Right. And you know what, we have nothing but love and praise for all that you put out to the cosmos for making the world a better place. I also want to thank World Media for making this interview possible with you. And Chris, anytime you want to come back to A Touch of Grace, the door is open for you. All you have to do is hit me up or hit Wayne up, and we'll make it happen.
All right. I appreciate that very much.
All right. So I'm going to let you go ahead on and get back to your creative afternoon. And thanks for being a guest, and much success continued for you, my friend.
Thank you very much. God bless.
God bless. All right, everybody. We just had a wonderful hour with Chris Jasper from the legendary ISLEY Brothers, and also from the group ISLEY Jasper ISLEY. He was a fantastic guest. He has a new CD that's coming out. The single is called The One. It's the same title as the CD, and it's going to be on Soul Tracks. That's Chris Riddick's Soul Tracks on May 1st. So I can't wait to hear that one. Okay, so I just want to announce some upcoming shows. On Thursday the 1st, Kevin D. Rogers, a.k.a. Kivo Desh, the filmmaker, will join A Touch of Grace to talk about making films. Then on Friday the 2nd, the music artist Kizo will join Street Player Presents here on A Touch of Grace to talk about his life and music. And then on Saturday, we have another artist on here, a real live Van Gogh. Her name is Urban Art, and she joins us to discuss her canvas creation. So continued great guests, great shows. And here's a little something I want to leave you with for the final. Make each day count, for tomorrow is not promised. With or without our participation, life will go on. Make sure you're not just being a passenger. Make sure you're doing most of the driving. Your dreams are depending on it. Thank you for listening in on the show, for making us 30,000 strong, approaching 40,000. And know this, GD loves you. Make sure you're loving yourself, all right? You take care. Have a great afternoon.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.